Welcome to the ITSM Practice Podcast.
I'm Luigi Ferri and I welcome you to today's episode of the ITSM Practice Podcast, your educational resource focused on sharing knowledge about enterprise service management and IT security. Today, we are talking about enterprise service management, and I'm delighted to have Stefan Kempter from IT Process Maps with us. Stefan's company is renowned for simplifying complex process models, which are used worldwide to help businesses effectively apply ITIL and ISO 20000. With over 25 years of experience in ITIL and service management, Stefan excels at making complicated concepts easy to understand. Today, Stefan will discuss the importance of keeping service management processes simple. He will share his experiences with the changes in ITIL and explain why he developed the YaSM model. Now, let's hear from Stefan as he explains these ideas in a clear and straightforward manner. Let's start.
Thank you, Luigi, for the introduction and for inviting me to your podcast. I spent some time pondering various topics that might be of interest here, and in the end I felt I should share a key insight from some 25 years of work in the field of ITIL and service management, which is keep your processes simple and straightforward. This may sound obvious, but if we look at the history of service management frameworks like ITIL, things seem to have gone in the opposite direction. Some of you may remember ITIL v2, the first edition of ITIL that became widely known. ITIL v2 described 10 service management processes, among them incident, problem, change and service level management. So, many key processes of service management were already in place back in 2000 or so. Simple enough. The next edition of ITIL v3 introduced the service lifecycle. That was a good move in my opinion, because it introduced the Deming cycle, a time-tested approach to continual improvement to the world of service management. This makes a lot of sense, because obviously we don't define and create a service once and then it runs forever, but it needs to be managed continuously over its lifespan. But the number of processes described in ITIL v3 went up from 10 to 26. These processes were never actually meant to be prescriptive. Organizations were always allowed to pick and choose whatever works for them in their specific environments and situations. But ITIL v3 nevertheless came often across as a kind of an inflexible standard that forces a complex web of 26 processes on IT organizations. Now, as you will know, the current edition of ITIL is ITIL 4. In this latest edition of ITIL, the authors seem to acknowledge that specifying a list of processes was too rigid an approach that was often misunderstood as a checklist with items to be ticked off. So ITIL now says, right at the beginning, that organizations should keep things simple. They can pick and choose from the guidance provided, and that guidance is described in the form of practices. Organizations are now free to design their service management processes based on the advice contained in the practices. Alas, ITIL 4 has arguably grown even bigger, with, for example, 34 practices as opposed to 26 processes in ITIL v3. This is of course due to the fact that, over the years, lots of new topics have emerged that affect the area of service management, like DevOps, Agile, Lean, Artificial Intelligence, you name it. The service management body of knowledge has thus grown ever bigger. With good reason, you might say, but in discussions with many of our customers, we also learned that it was getting ever more difficult to see the key elements of good service management and to get the basics right. So what are these basics? In my view, good service management should start with the service consumers and understand their needs. Develop and offer an attractive range or portfolio of services. Support the customers as they use the services, and reevaluate the service portfolio on a continual basis and improve the services as required. This calls for several key processes, especially the service lifecycle processes for service strategy, design, transition, operation, and improvement, and a few more. In the YaSM service management model, we have identified a streamlined set of 17 key processes that organizations can choose from as they start to adopt service management best practice. This is not to say that all you need are 17 processes, but these 17 processes describe the key elements of good service management, and they help you get the basics right before you think about, say, where to apply agile methods or artificial intelligence in your service management practices. You can find the complete list of these 19 processes with detailed descriptions in our YaSM wiki.